Hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I'm Kathryn, that's Emily, and we are back in action once again, ready for Silverstone.
And we are still in a bathtub.
And I am still being eaten alive by mosquitoes. I just actually bought a pair of it's a mosquito suit, but particularly specifically I bought myself the pants so that I could wear the pants because
Love.
that's where the mosquitoes are most attracted to, even though I do have a couple bites on my face. But I'm just I'm excited for it to show up so I can walk outside when it's in the evenings and not just get I was attacked last night. It was ridiculous.
And it's so weird because, so Catherine is at camp where I used to live, many, many, many moons ago, but we never had mosquitoes. So, hearing about this is very surprising.
Yeah, I think it just might be where we are within town.
Specifically? Yeah.
I think it's the specific part of town. We're very far north at the very edge. We're kind of near the marshy bits. So I think that could be why. But I'm just I don't like it because I'm one of those people who reacts very badly to mosquitoes. And let's just say my legs are a war zone right now.
Well, welcome to the summer of podcasting from Catherine and Emily. You'll never know where you're going to get us or what state you'll get us in, but here's to going off track.
Exactly. We are here. We are moderately functional. I'm actually on my day off, so I'm probably going to conk out and take a nap after we're recording this. And you're on your trip.
Yep, I'm on my day off as well. I don't work all week, which is lovely. And yeah, I'm just, enjoying Mendoza. So, go team.
Yeah. So let us dive in to a little bit of news before we talk about the British Grand Prix. But I thought this was, I won't say surprising, but it's interesting and also kind of whatever, Alpine. But Alpine, there has been news that Alpine is inquiring as to Valtteri Bottas's availability for at least part of the rest of this season, which it's interesting because obviously he's in the running for Cadillac, and this could be a little bit of a Cadillac saying, hey, let's see what he's gonna do in a car as we get closer to Cadillac coming onto the grid next year, as he is one of the drivers that is being seriously considered for a seat. And then, of course, Flavio Briatore wants anyone who can drive one of these awful cars because Franco Colapinto's not delivering, but also the car isn't giving him anything to work with.
The car sucks.
Yeah.
The car sucks. Let's not beat around the bush. I think Colapinto's doing as much as he possibly can, and I think him not finishing too far behind Gasly is a good sign that Colapinto's at least doing something. It's weird to think also back to Jack was in the car not too long ago.
Yeah.
I feel bad for whoever's going to have that second seat. I feel like they're very committed to Gasly, which as they should be.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone coming into that second seat is going to do well or meet their expectations or anything like that. And we've talked ad nauseum about Flavio and his thoughts and feels. And I understand them wanting to look elsewhere, but I also feel like they should just cut their losses this season and hope for the best next season.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a matter of would it be worth it to get rid of Colapinto or just let Colapinto have the time that Jack should have had and just wait until next year. They're going to be changing power units, so they're going to basically immediately get a boost in performance, just leaving behind these awful Renault engines that they've been languishing with for years and moving on to becoming a Mercedes customer team.
Yeah, agreed. Ugh, it's brutal, but
yeah.
But well, we'll see what ends up happening with Bottas. I'm warming up to the idea of him coming on with Cadillac. I don't love it, but I am coming around to it. I don't love him jumping in to Alpine.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes, since he's their current reserve driver, Mercedes has stated that they're not going to get in the way if he is given this opportunity, which does make sense. He's such a capable driver. He's a 10-time race champion. He should be in a car, and obviously his move to Alfa Romeo served, no one's career, if you look at what happened with him and Zhou Guanyu. So they're not going to say no, but I just don't know if I'd want to touch what's going on over there.
I completely agree. Same
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah. So it remains to be seen. Will Colapinto have more time? Probably. This might be a summer break type of deal. But I just think that if I were Bottas, I would just wait for Cadillac to call me up and get in the car in 26.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So before we turn too much into the podcast that only talks about the year ahead of us, let's kind of come back and talk about the 2025 Global F1 Fan Survey, which was just released, which I find very interesting. And I know you do as well.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it in depth yet because running a summer camp, but it is a very in-depth study that they have conducted every 4 years to track the evolution of global fan engagement. And this has never been a more important time for Formula One to understand what what is resonating with their fan base. And what I've seen so far has not surprised me, but it is definitely the direction that they're going to continue going into.
Agreed. Yeah, so what Kathryn is kind of alluding to is, after more than 100,000 fans were surveyed and responded to the survey across 186 countries. So not just the US, not just the UK, not just Europe, literally all over. It shows that F1 is attracting new, younger fans, which, kind of duh, but also female fans, which I also love to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we can definitely credit this to, the Drive to Survive era of fan growth and fan engagement. The report said that 3 in 4 new fans are female.
Yeah. I also think there's an appeal because of the drama. At least in the US, women love Bravo. We love drama. We love reality TV. And I feel like Drive to Survive just kind of feeds into that. Maybe it's not necessarily the same vein, but it's adjacent. And there is drama, there is stuff going on with it, and it is entertaining from that perspective as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the chaos that we see in a number of races, especially when we have these wet weather races that just completely throw to the side, and anything is there's so much intrigue, there's so many questions. And yes, we're in a season where your qualifying position will really help dictate where you're going to finish, but not always, and you never really know what's going to happen when you show up on race day. And I think that is one of the really great appeals of the sport, even as we have gone over the last few years from a heavy Mercedes dominance to a heavy Red Bull dominance and now to a heavy McLaren dominance. This is clearly showing that having a trending team dominate for a few seasons does not detract from growth.
100%. And speaking of growth, I thought the most not interesting, and not even surprising, but just an oh wow factor was that 42% of fans already are following F1 Academy and are currently engaging with F1 Academy, which to be a support series for F1 and still have that amount of following or intrigue was very interesting to me, because I see it in a context of we follow F1 Academy because of the podcast and because we're women in motorsport and we want to, uplift and encourage and see it go far. But to see that 42% of current fans are actually engaging with F1 Academy was honestly surprising.
I thought that was a really high number, and obviously 100,000 people is not completely, it is a very good sampling of the millions of Formula One fans around the world, but 100,000 versus a million is still a lot. But that said, that's a lot of people who are engaging with F1 Academy. And, say what you will about how long it's going to take for a female driver to get to the Formula One grid. It'll even be a huge deal when we see a female driver get into Formula 2. So it's very...
Agreed.
It's very interesting that this is happening so quickly because we're only in the 3rd season of the Academy.
Yeah. And I think it's potentially in line with 3 and 4 new fans are female, and watching F1 Academy, like their growth and their current reach. But it is very encouraging, and I think Susie's doing a great job. I think the sponsors that she's pulling in, the intrigue that she's getting, the people that they're pulling to go to the races, like on an influencer celebrity level, are very, very high. So I think I think they're doing everything right and everything they can to grow the F1 Academy.
Yeah, it's like, we know that an F1 Academy driver isn't going to graduate from F1 Academy and go straight to the F1 grid or even to the F3 grid. We know that that's not the process here, and the process is really in the grassroots efforts of getting more girls into karting internationally and leading to, more females having the opportunity in the lower F4 series internationally, and then getting into F3, F2, F1. And that's going to take some years, but they're already, I don't know if they're ahead of where they expected to be, but I think that the fact that they're able to broadcast to, if you open up YouTube, you can watch an F1 Academy race at any time. That is one of the key points of making sure that is as accessible as possible, and as we've said, more eyes as possible means that it's going to continue to grow.
Yep, more eyes, more money, more growth. They all go hand in hand.
Yeah. And speaking of eyes, the report also says that more fans are finding Formula One through social media and that content, which is really there's that more of that relatability and that parasocial relationship that can develop when you're a fan of a major, figure, media figure. And that's really what is enticing people in and getting them interested into the sport, which we have always talked about how Formula One account social media is some of the best sports social media on the planet, and it makes sense that that's how you're gonna find a funny video from the Racing Bulls drivers, and that's gonna get you, that's your barrier of entry, is a funny video of Isaac Hadjar pretending to be a Kardashian or something.
Which honestly, as much as I'm excited for Yuki to be with Red Bull, I miss Yuki and Isaac content social media wise, because they used to just use every Kardashian audio clip that imaginable, and miss it, but
exactly.
But so with that, I think we should just get into the Silverstone predictions.
Might as well. So last year,
to recap last year, you can go for it, because I want to hear it from your mouth instead of mine.
I mean, this is the part where Emily is making me say nice things about Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, this was a really big race for him because he had been racing with Mercedes for so long. Silverstone is his home track, everything about that, and it was this swan song for him. He has had one of the biggest streaks of performance at Silverstone, that just one of the best in the history of the sport. I know I continue saying such nice things about him, and of course the question was he going to be able to win in his final race with Mercedes at Silverstone when the Mercedes wasn't that great? And surprise, surprise, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
I will never forget recording this episode last year, and you had to say such nice things about him. And I didn't even
so
record Silverstone last year. And I just listened to it, and I was like, Kathryn has to say nice things. Kathryn has to say nice things. Kathryn has to say nice things. It was so incredible. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. But so last year, Lewis ended up winning. Max was P2 and Lando was P3, which, never in a million years would I have ever thought that would be the podium last year.
No, especially not at Silverstone, not in 2024, not when George Russell was on pole, but he had a coolant issue, a water issue, something broke in his car, so he did not finish the race. But that was a very interesting moment in that season for just how things were turning. Mercedes came back. They were finally back, kind of. And then the Red Bull McLaren battle had been pretty hot at that point. So it was a very interesting race, especially in the grand scheme of what the 2024 season ended up being.
Agreed. Well, looking forward to this year, because we are a podcast that actually talks about current races.
Finally.
So we are recording this a little early this week just because of schedules. But we do have some liveries. So we at least have one, potentially two, kind of.
Kind of.
But the V-Carb livery is going to be a special livery. So they have done a collaboration with street artist Sean. And I kind of like it. I honestly, V-Carb to me can do no wrong with their livery.
Of course. But yeah, it's a little bit chaotic, but at least they committed to that chaos, and I really do appreciate
Agreed.
it. It's not like my favorite V-Carb livery, since obviously like the glitter livery and the Miami Sunset livery and even the jeans livery are the ones that really pop into my head. But I do think it's a great livery. It's really fun. It's very well connected to that like street art vibe. They had already released like the merch line, or at least like the team merch for it like the week before. So we kind of knew that this was coming, and I think that it's a really great partnership, and I think that they were able to create a livery that suited the car well without completely overwhelming it, even though it is a very kind of overwhelming pattern on the car.
Agreed. I retweet everything that you just said.
Thanks. But the thing about Mercedes is going in on this like orange sunset vibes, and they released a couple days ago their brand new race suits. But the only thing that's different, and is also going to be different on the car, is the Mercedes star, so the Mercedes symbol on the car, instead of being black or silver as it has been, is going to be orange for the weekend. And that's the change.
Well, and that's why I said we had like one kind of two.
Ish.
1.5. One and a quarter, let's say.
1 1/8.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm not in love. I'm not sold. I don't know. But this is not new to us. We have never really liked a Mercedes special livery, so.
They haven't been my favorite. So Mercedes has been, typically they are very consistent about their brand, similar to the way that Ferrari is clinging to their consistency to the detriment of fun things like giving us an all black livery or giving us an all yellow livery or giving us an all goddamn blue livery. But I just think that like Mercedes has been doing so much promotion and media leading into Silverstone, and just to say, oh, here is the orange that we're putting on this one little tiny thing that you're not even going to see on television because the cars drive so fast. Like, I think that was a little bit of the failing. I mean, when you have like George Russell and Kimi Antonelli doing photo shoots in their funky British little page boy hats, and all you're giving us is orange, and what maybe the safety car is going to be orange this time if we see the safety car. So it was a little bit like sure, question mark ish.
Yeah, it's like they're like, oh, let's do something different for Silverstone, but
and then they don't.
Let's not super commit to it. Yeah, I don't understand it, but it is what it is. Also, looking into this weekend, weather.
Yeah. So to preface, it is Tuesday as we are recording. Obviously, race day is not until Sunday, but right now the weather says that there's going to be about a 40% chance of rain on Saturday, quali day, and 35 to 40% on Sunday. And now it's the UK. It always rains in the UK, like at all times of year, basically. So this doesn't really come to a surprise, but I think it's been a while since we've had weather intrigue in our racing, so I am kind of excited to see that potential and how that's going to play into this weekend's race.
Agreed. It should be interesting. We love weather. I don't love when weather takes over the race, but I do love it when it's like sprinkles a little fun into the race.
Yeah, I mean, giving us some intrigue on when you're going to shift from slicks to inters and back. Like, that's really where I appreciate a wet weather race. Whereas, say, Suzuka a couple of years ago, what was that, Suzuka 2022, when Pierre Gasly almost died because there was a recovery vehicle on the track? Like, that was a little much.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So... all right, well, with that, let's get into our Silverstone predictions. So if you are new to the podcast, or in case you've forgotten, Kathryn and I pick pole, podium, and P10, and we give ourselves points depending on which one we get. It is very difficult. We don't end up giving ourselves points very often, but we do it anyways because it's fun and because we're here for you guys. So, Kathryn, with that being said, who is your Silverstone pole sitter?
So I am finally caving. and I am picking the other McLaren driver
Oh my
for
God,
pole.
stop.
Are you did you too? Did you also pick
I did
Lando?
as well. I came
Yeah.
and I picked Lando, which means
Yeah.
Oscar will probably
Which
be on pole.
yeah, exactly. Like we should this is the decisions we should have made for Austria. What did we know?
Oh, what do we know? Okay, and then podium. Who is on your podium for Silverstone?
So my podium, I'm going with an Oscar win in spite of the Lando pole, and then I'm going to have a bounce back for Max, and then Lando in P3.
Okay, love that. I also have Oscar winning. I have Lando P2 because I can't not do it. I have Lewis P3.
Okay.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a while since Lewis has, you know, like he's usually had a win by now, let alone, you know, podium. So like
well, to
this
be fair,
this could be the
he
time.
did win a sprint in China. Let's not.
One sprint race, but those aren't real.
Yeah,
but yes.
But you know what? At least he has that under his belt. It's more than Charles Leclerc can say. So
that is true.
There you go. And last but not least, we pick P10 because P10 is the last place in the grid where you get a point. They get 1 point for P10. We give ourselves 3 because it is surprisingly difficult to pick this. So who's your P10, Kathryn?
So I'm sticking with Stake this weekend, and I'm going with the other Stake driver. I'm going with Bortoletto.
Okay. And it's funny because I'm also sticking with my pick from last week, which is Carlos Sainz. I feel like, you know, he needs to come back from his non-starter last week.
Yeah, his little Sonny Hayes moment that just didn't go the same way that Sonny Hayes' moment did. If you haven't seen the F1 movie, we have thoughts on it, which we will give you soon. Go see it so that we can tell you all of our thoughts without having to worry about spoilers.
Yes. Okay, and then just for fun, Kathryn and I pick the biggest surprise and who will do an oops this weekend. So for my biggest surprise, I have it's going to be another double point Stake weekend.
Okay, that's a fun one. And I have that we're going to see a bounce back from Williams because I'm a little worried about them right now.
Me too. I really hope to see a bounce back. I don't know, but I'm very hopeful. So I love that for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then for who's going to do an oops, honestly, I'm in such a good mood. It's my birthday tomorrow. It's 4th of July week, which I love. And I love the irony of it being Silverstone over 4th of July weekend. But I said that no one's going to have a bad weekend. No one's going to do an oops. We're just going to have a great weekend of racing.
Okay. We'll see.
So there you go.
Yeah, mine is, and this is something that we talked about in our Austria reaction, is that we were both really interested to see how the Ferrari upgrades were going to handle on a more, let's call it a more typical length track because the Red Bull Ring is so short. So my oops is that the Ferrari upgrades are not going to translate to success on the longer, on these longer tracks. So that's what I'm really interested in looking out for this weekend.
How could you do that to me, Kathryn? It's my birthday week.
It's your birthday week.
Why would you do this?
I'm not making you record on your birthday.
So fair. But I'm going against Ferrari and I don't know what to think.
Oops.
It's okay. It's okay. Yep. Okay, well, all in all, I'm very excited. Silverstone is one of the races I look forward to every single year. It's a great weekend. Oh my gosh, wait, guest picker. We forgot.
Oh, yes, guest picker.
Okay, so guest picker is my very, very good friend, Dominic. He is British, which is so fitting. But let me look at our text. What did he say? So he is our guest picker. I'm actually with him in Mendoza this weekend because he lives here now, but he is British. So he has, which I don't know how closely he follows F1, but I love him for this. He has Hamilton P1, Verstappen P2, and Norris P3.
Okay. I mean,
which is not too far off, but also I feel like that's a pipe dream, but let the British do what the British want.
It could be, and they're still really big Lewis Hamilton fans, despite the fact that he's left for Italy. But no, I think that that is a reasonable podium prediction. I think
I do honestly. It is. It's pretty solid. As if the Ferrari upgrades are truly good on a traditional track, as long as he qualifies well, I don't see this as like a pipe dream.
Yeah, so we'll see. But
We
yeah,
will.
I think that this race is going to be really interesting. It's a home race for like basically all of Formula One. It has ties to, to Silverstone, to the UK. So it's basically everyone's home race. Specifically, it is the home race of George, Lando, Lewis, and Ollie Behrman's first ever home race as an F1 driver. So there's going to be,
right.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of really big pageantry and excitement around the weekend. And I think that this is going to be an opportunity to have a really fun showcase of the sport. And, going into the first full week of the movie being in theaters, I think that this is a great opportunity for fans to enjoy the Formula One movie and then be like, let's watch this Formula One race this weekend and see what the differences are. Especially since so much of the film was filmed at Silverstone, too.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be interesting. But yeah, love Silverstone. Very excited to see it. It's a great track. And I'm honestly really excited to see how Ferrari does with the new upgrades and like a better track than Austria.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. And it's going to be a fun one, especially if we do have some rain over the weekend.
Agreed. So coming up next for the podcast, we will have our Silverstone recap episode, which will come out on Monday, most likely,
Probably.
pending delays. Just welcome to the summer of the unknown, everyone. With Kathryn's running a summer camp, and me, gallivanting all over the world. We may have some delays. We may not. Who knows if the Wi-Fi is good. So, but look for our Silverstone recap coming out on Monday. But that has been it for our Silverstone prediction episode. Thanks for going on track with us, guys.